Yeah, I don't know, if you read from this one, you'll find at least 5 to 10 mistakes in the translation, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know why, they just didn't copy the original. They retyped everything. One very blazing mistake.
Can you repeat the number of the page, Mark?
Well, it's 79 in this one.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is in various versions of there.
Is who?
Yeya Nilo Premadonna Saparshada Bhagavat Viraha Janita Vilap.
Okay. On the same page.
Lamentation.
2 tal or 3 tal?
Pardon?
You play 2 tal or?
Wait, I don't know, let's see. 3 times usually on this one. Yeah. Yeya Nilo Premamadana Karuna Pacho Karuna Pacho Yeya Nilo Premadana Karuna Pacho Karuna Pacho Hino Prabhu Kota Gilacharya Thakur Hino Prabhu Kota Gilacharya Thakur Kahamara Swarup Rupa Kahasanatan Kahamara Swarup Rupa Kahasanatan Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kahamora Patayuga Kahakavira Hekakale Kota Yela Gora Natara Hekakale Kota Ela Gora Natara Pashahane Kutibo Mata Hanale Pashibo Pashahane Kutibo Mata Hanale Pashibo Goranga Gunera Nirikota Ilepavo Gunera Nirikota Ilepavo Se sabha sangira sanghe ye koila pila se sabha sangira sanghe ye koila pila Se sangana paya kande Narottama dasa Se sangana paya kande Narottama dasa Se sangha napaya kande Narottama dasa Se sangha napaya kande Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Narottama Das Thakura ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Shri Shinitai Sachi Sutta ki jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra ki jai Shri Radha Parasishwara ki jai Gauda Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Narottama Das Tirobhama Mahotsava ki, Gauda Premanande. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastachare Shatarine. What time? You didn't offer them during the song?
They were playing instruments.
Huh?
They were playing instruments, I think.
I see. Yeah, it's very short time. So I'm not sure what we should do here. We'll quickly read a verse from the Bhagavatam. Which verse are you reading?
8, 7, 11.
8, 7, 11. Oh my goodness.
Not 9, 11.
Oh, that's 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay, 7-Eleven is the name of a convenience shop,
Yeah.
a store. I don't know if you have it here. 7-Eleven. 9/11 is another thing. Okay. Today is a windy day, so I'll just chant the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, this is an interesting section of the churning of the milk ocean. Or was it not the milk ocean, the ocean. And how Lord Shiva saves the universe. So today we're reading text number 11. Tata suran avishad asurenam rupena tesham balaviryam trairayan Udipayandeva kanamsta Vishnur Daivena Nagendra Mabodha Rupa. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter Lord Vishnu entered the demons as the quality of passion, the demigods as the quality of goodness, and Vasuki as the quality of ignorance, to encourage them and increase their various types of strength and energy. Purport. Everyone in this material world is under the different modes of material nature. There were 3 different parties in the churning of Mandara mountain. The demigods, who were in the mode of goodness, the demons, who were in the mode of passion, and the snake Vasuki, who was in the mode of ignorance. Since they were all becoming tired, Vasuki so much so that he was almost going to die, Lord Vishnu, to encourage them to continue the work of churning the ocean, entered into them according to their respective modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Hare Krishna. Very special. Huh? This whole pastime is very special. In one sense, it's a form of Krishna. Krishna is he's everything there, basically speaking. The demons, the demigods, the churning, the Kurmadev, Vasuki, he's entered into everything there, practically speaking. So today, in talking about entering in, if the word is used very broadly in society, maybe in various circumstances, but in relationships to today, Tirobhav Mahamahotsav of Narottama Das Thakura, we could say that entering in is one of the key factors of this pastime of Narottama Das. When I say pastime, it sounds almost like another story in world history or something. It's not. This is it's a continuation of the Lord's divine. As the Lord enters into the bodies of the demons and demigods and Vasuki and so on, he also enters into this universe by his own sweet will, or for various purposes combined. In the particular case of the event of Narottama Das Thakura's appearance in this, or disappearance today, festival, but the life of Narottama Das, so related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared in this world by his own sweet will, entered in, particularly, as we all know, for the purpose of establishing Yuga Dharma, the Sankirtan movement, which is the only way in this age of Kali. Without Sankirtan, everything else is simply, what we can say, dead, practically speaking. It's like a body, they're just about to die, they're so tired, worn out. People in this world are just literally, Prabhupada describes them as, what does he say? Dead bodies simply flapping. Flapping for a few moments and then poof, like a fish in a, when a fish is caught in the net, and sometimes you see them, sometimes you may even go to markets on Harinama, you see fishes sometimes in the water tray, you see? And sometimes they're still alive. I don't know if you see, they're flapping, and they're flapping. They don't last long. They're struggling, but they're desperately trying, but they're like dead bodies simply flapping for a few moments. This is basically what we've got. This is our quota. This is our deal in this world. We've got this body right now, a human body, but it's really another dead body flapping. That's all. We may be flapping in one mode or the other, but we're all flapping. And the way you flap, I don't like the way you flap. I'm going to flap you. And people flap each other, right, according to the way they flap. Like the way the flags are flapping. And if your flag is the wrong flag, I'm going to flap you. Right? We've all got these identities, this false ego, and people fight over it. Well, when the Lord comes, he comes to help deliver us from this flapping condition. We can have the flag of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan, but that flag, just like Arjuna had the flag of Hanuman, was victory to Ram, so to speak. So the flag of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement unfurled, and Lord Chaitanya appeared along with his associates to deliver the whole world and spread the Sankirtan movement even to the untouchables. He went everywhere with his saying, well, didn't go everywhere from the external point of view, but in one sense he did. From the external point of view, he traveled predominantly within what we now call India, and exclusively, in fact, and spread the holy name everywhere, and injected or entered into everyone's heart in that Namarupa form, in the form of a name. So in that way, in relationship to today, of course, that wasn't the end of it. Lord Chaitanya's mission is meant to continue, as we know from, for instance, Chaitanya Mangala. We can read about how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Gauranga Mahaprabhu in this direct case, the golden form of the Lord, assured Narada Muni that he would be very soon appearing in this world and he would be delivering all the sinful living entities in Kali Yuga. So he appeared. And then he said, for those who escape, somehow or another who flee to foreign lands, like France, I will send more Senapati Bhakta. I will send my chief field commander, who will go everywhere and deliver them. He will be Mantra Upashaka, the worshipper of the holy name. And he will, awaken, basically inject. When you go on Harinam Sankirtan, it may not be it's like a little injection maybe, but there's some injection there. It's not as deep. Pure devotees, they can inject deeply, but the injection is there. Some little injection is going into the person. A little bit. Krishna's entering in that sense, in the form of a name, in their consciousness. So we're going to talk a little bit about that particular subject to some extent, we could say, by the arrangement of Krishna. We had no plan like that. Because the word entered in here is very prominent in this verse. It's basically what it's about. Lord entering in. So in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, after he'd entered into the universe and let's say was beginning, she'd already travelled in South India, and in South India he had countless living entities had taken up the Sankirtan movement, and now he's travelling to Vrindavan. The first trip he didn't go to Vrindavan exactly, he went back to Puri at some point of time, and then he went again, and one of these two, I don't know which one it was, but on one of these journeys he was travelling, and they came to the river Padma, which is, you may have been to Bangladesh, you've probably been to Bangladesh, right? You've been to Bangladesh? You've seen the Padma River? Padma River is extremely large, especially during the rainy season. It's almost, you can't see the other side. It's miles and miles wide, especially during the rainy season. It's probably the biggest branch of the Ganga. The Brahmaputra, which comes down from Tibet, also joins this particular branch of the Ganga, and it's a huge river, especially in the rainy season. And you can't go anywhere in Bangladesh practically without a boat. I mean, most journeys are on boats. Anyway, Lord Chaitanya was with Lord Nityananda and many of his associates at that time from Bengal, and they came to the Padma. Somehow or another. It's not too far from the border of Bangladesh, of India. And they came to the river Padma, and there Lord Chaitanya went into complete ecstasy. Nobody knew what he kept chanting, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. The other devotees didn't really know what he was referring, because Narottam was not at that point a known associate of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah, but I mean, maybe someone else, many devotees have Mukunda, there are many Mukundas, there are many Govindas, there are many Haridases, but nobody knew who was this Narottam. Who is this Narottam? Who is he referring to, this great personality? Maybe great personality. Some could understand that maybe a great personality will be appearing in the future, maybe at this place. He was across the river from what is in Kaituri Gram, the town of Kaituri. So, and this was a mysterious, but Lord Chaitanya was in such ecstasy, such ecstasy. At that point, he took his bath in the river Padma Ganga, and he deposited his Krishna prema in the waters of the Padma. And he informed Nityananda that in the future, a great personality will be born here. And it's your business to basically, in a sense, initiate him, not exactly, but to direct him, to give him direction. I am depositing my Krishna prema in this river. And it's your business to, Narottama, a great personality will appear. It's your business will be to actually inform him and bring him to this river where this Krishna prema will then be deposited in Narottama. It will be reposed in him. So time went by, and sure enough, of course, Nityananda was preaching in Bengal. And after more or less the time of Lord Chaitanya's departure from this world, Narottama appeared. He appeared as the son of a great king, Krishnananda. Krishnananda was not born in a particularly elevated family. They're kayastas. I mean, they're considered to be very, let's say, intelligent people, very influential, but not caste-wise lowly. Some people consider them Shudras, although he's like a king, kind of like a Vaishya king, ruling, properties and areas and so on, land and what have you. And an influential person in the local area, but nonetheless, from the caste point of view, just like Ramananda Roy was considered to be low class, because of birth. A particular caste wasn't considered so high. So he was considered to be born in a lowly family, but right from birth, Narottama was not so much inclined to material life. He was very inclined towards spiritual life. He was also, but materially speaking, he was a genius. I mean, he was known as a Shrutidar. He had a photogenic memory. Photogenic, just like Devarshi has photogenic memory. Yeah. Sometimes we have a photogenic memory of things we shouldn't have a photogenic memory of. Things we should have a photogenic memory, we can't remember anything. Right? Isn't it? Some mundane thing. Sometimes, It's like for Indian gentlemen, they may be able to remember every single cricket ball that was ever bowled by the Indian cricket team for the last 150 years or something. And this tendency is there. We have no attraction for Krishna, so we don't tend to really remember. Something we really like, we tend to remember. We make it a real serious, our intelligence goes full on to try to grasp it. But anyway, he was a Shrutidar, but he wasn't really interested in all the mundane subjects. He was interested in Krishna Katha. That was his only real interest. So as he grew, as a young man, at an early age, in fact, a teenage age, it was time for Nityananda. Of course, Nityananda departed the world by then, but he then appeared in a dream to Narottama. And he said, Narottama, in a dream. These dreams in those days were often, you see, taken very seriously. And today people take seriously dreams, but most dreams are a bit of a jumble sale. I don't know about your situation, you get a really clarified dream. But much of the time they're a bit of a jumble sale. They're not necessarily anything directional. They may be indicative of our consciousness. They may inspire us, they may give us some warnings, but they're not necessarily so clear. The dreams are like siksha, like someone giving you absolute siksha direction. Do this. It's as clear as day, as clear as day. And sometimes said it's not like exactly like a dream, it's more like a vision, which a person may have. We see the biblical visions. Hari Bol, Subhadra. Good to see you. Wonderful to see you. Is your Prabhu in India or is he still in France?
Still in France.
Still in France, is he? Mm-hmm. Good.
No issue.
But yeah, I know he had an operation, so he couldn't go until that was settled. So we see this so many times of a vision or divine, revelation or something or another. So Nityananda appeared and told him in the morning at sunrise, you have to go down to the river Padma and take your bath there. And then sure enough, Narottama did. At sunrise he went down. He was very dark complexioned, by the way. Very dark complexioned at that time. He went down and took his bath in the river Padma. And suddenly, he didn't know what was happening to him. His whole consciousness was starting to transform to something he'd never experienced, an ecstasy, a feeling of indescribable feeling of jubilation and transcendental bliss of some kind. And then suddenly Lord Chaitanya appeared before him and embraced him. He'd never seen Lord Chaitanya. He appeared more or less the time of Lord Chaitanya's departure from this world. And suddenly his form transformed from a very darkish complexion to a golden hue, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the result of embracing Lord Chaitanya, the result of praising Radha Govinda. You become an ecstatic devotee. Subhadra, they embraced each other, just as I said that. You do, like that association, you develop qualities. In this case, it was external qualities, not just internal ones. The Lord embraced him, and Narottama was enthused. Actually, Lord Chaitanya, when he spoke to Nityananda, he said, I will deposit my Krishna Prem in Narottama, but not just Krishna Prem. He said, the Prem Sankirtan, the Prem of Kirtan Ras, in its fullest extent. I will deposit it in the river Padma, and that will be then, say sometimes people deposit money in the bank and later on you're able to withdraw. They leave it in someone's name or something, and later at a certain point of time, or an inheritance or something, you're able to inherit it. That will be inherited by Narottama at a certain point of time. It's your business to, make that connection. So Narottama was then enthused with Krishna Prem. We see throughout his life, one of the primary, let's say, aspects of Narottama's service was related to kirtan, isn't it? At the famous festival, many, many years later, Padma said to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how will I know when that time comes? Many people bathe in my waters, how will I know? He said, when you overflow, Lord Chaitanya said, when your banks overflow with ecstasy, you feel an amazing, incredible feeling of ecstasy when that person bathes in you, you will feel that ecstasy. Then you will know it is Narottama. Then you will know. So that's a very special place. I've never been, but I've seen the river Padma, but I did not at Katuri. Several times we traveled in Bangladesh in the 80s. So we didn't go to Katuri. I regret that very much now, but I don't know if this lifetime we'll see that good fortune or not. I don't expect so, but I never know. Anyway, Katuri is a very special place, and there are many pastimes in Katuri later on. But Narottama then, after taking bath and becoming injected, or whatever you can say, Krishna Premas, Sankirtan Premas, entered into him, and he's completely overwhelmed by the effect of that. And Narottama's forgotten everything else, basically. He's just rolling on the banks of the Padma, golden coloured now, and just crying in ecstasy of love of God. And he didn't go back home after that. And of course, the mother and father wonder, where's their son? And he went down to the Ganga to take a bath and has not come back. And maybe he's drowned. Well, what's happened here? These things do happen. So they sent all their servants left, right, and center. They couldn't find anyone who resembled Narottama exactly. But they saw this ecstatic person rolling like a madman on the bank of the Padma, calling and crying Krishna's names like crazy. And then they realized that this is our Nara. What's happened to him? He's changed color. What's going on here? And he's a madman. Somehow they brought him back home, but he was never the same again. They tried all sorts of things to deprogram him, but nothing worked. Nothing worked. He was a madman. He had no interest anymore in anything. He wasn't married. They wanted to get him married. Nothing was of interest to Narottama. He was their only son. This was really a disaster taking place here. Absolute disaster. Sometimes parents say, I'll never send my child there again, he got ruined. So, whatever. But at one point of time, I mean, different things took place, but it became known by many devotees that Narottama, whatever he was a mad devotee of Krishna. And the local Muslim, whatever it's called, important local Muslim man, heard about it through some of his Hindu secretaries. He wanted to see him. Who's this guy who's so-called infused with love of God or whatever it is? He wanted to see him, and this time they had no choice but to let him go to see the Muslim. And when he went there, Narottama took this opportunity, because Lord Chaitanya had told him that he should go to Vrindavan. He should go to Vrindavan. And so Lord Chaitanya had also told him that he should take initiation from Lokanath Goswami. And Lord Chaitanya also told Lokanath Goswami that he should give initiation to Narottama. So this was already pre-arranged. So, but anyway, this is the opportunity. He found a way out. And when he went to the court of this Muslim, whatever, magistrate or whatever he was, it wasn't a Qazi, but he was some important Muslim. And he found a way out of his residence and disappeared into the jungles and made his way to Vrindavan. Things took place on the way, we won't mention it. Where the Lord reciprocated with him. In fact, there's one little thing we mention is that he was really almost exhausted. The Lord appeared, Radharani, I think, appeared in a disguise and brought him a pot of milk to sustain him on the journey. So anyway, eventually he arrived in Vrindavan. Got a long long story short. He got to Vrindavan, and there, of course, the Goswamis are actually, to some extent, they had received some information. They were waiting for him to come. He reached Vrindavan, and then, of course, after some time, he saw Lokanath Goswami and started to serve him for several years. Very totally surrendered to Lokanath Goswami, serving him menially, not just, but anything he asked to do, whatever it was, manuscripts, cleaning, helping to cook, whatever it was, Narottama would do it. And Lokanath Goswami had no disciples, officially. He never accepted, he made a vow never to accept disciples. Jiva Goswami also had no disciples, unique. Although he's the guru of all the Vaishnavas, he never took any Diksha disciple, only Siksha. So after some time, Narottama begged Diksha from Lokanath, and Lokanath said, no, I've vowed not to give Diksha, so I'm not giving anyone Diksha. Time went by, and Narottama was thinking what to do. He was getting desperate, so he started to go in the night. Lokanath Goswami, when he would pass through in the forest somewhere nearby, or whatever he used to do, and he would go there unknown, incognito, and clean everything up. So and Lokanath was wondering who's doing this, who's cleaning up everything here nicely and preparing everything for me. I'm going to take bath and this and that. So he hid one night and saw that it was a Narottama. So he said, what is this? What are you doing here? He said that he fell at his feet, begging for mercy. I cannot live unless you give me initiation. And it took about several years of this endeavor of menial service, organizing different things for his Guru Maharaj, but still he wouldn't give. Eventually Lord Chaitanya had to force Lokanath Goswami. He appeared to him again in a dream and said, look, Lokanath, I know you've made a vow, but don't you remember I ordered you to give him initiation? He's going to die if you don't give him initiation. Come on. All right, Lokanath said to Mahabharata, I will give him initiation, but he will be the only one, no one else, okay? So he did, at an appropriate time, astrologically, he gave him initiation and became, of course. And he also revealed his Swarup to Lokanath. The last Manjari. Somebody said he's Champaka Manjari. He's a Manjari in Rupa Goswami's line. And his business is to assist Champaka Lata in preparing, one of Champaka Lata's primary services to prepare milk for Krishna. It sounds a small thing, doesn't it? And he said, this is your eternal service. Just to help boil the milk. That's your eternal service. That sounds pretty boring. I think of that. It sounds pretty boring, doesn't it? Will you be bored with that? Okay. Prabhu, Prabhu, I'm giving you a service from now on. You have only one service the rest of your life. You just have to stay here and boil milk for the rest of your life. Simple as that. Pretty simple, huh? We're so complicated, aren't we? We get really, God, every day we complain if it's Khichdi every day. We complain if it's the same person. You know, we complain about everything practically. We're so restless. But his service, he said, you're to assist Champagalata simply to prepare milk. That's all. Nothing else. Maybe, who knows if there was anything else. But that's all he was given. You are the milk boiler for Champagalata, who brings the milk to the divine couple. He was in ecstasy, so this was actually his service. Milk was quite prominent in his life. And anyway, so then Lokanath Maharshi gave him over to Jiva Goswami as a Siksha disciple, of course with Shyamananda and Srinivas. Those three famous Siksha disciples of others too. Ramchandra also was a very close associate. That's why his name is mentioned here in this song we just sang of Narottama. Very close friend of Narottama. He wasn't a disciple of Srinivas, I think, but he was a very close friend. They were so close associates. Ramchandra Kaviraja. So then time went by and they were brilliant students. Narottama especially was a brilliant student of Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami was very happy to hear these various truths about Narottama, that he was his eternal service to Radharani and Radha and Krishna and so on. And the time came when it was time to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to at least to East India. So Jiva Goswami selected Narottama Das particularly, and Srinivas and Shyamananda. Srinivas was a good organizer, so he was kind of the party organizer. And he sent them all off with these, you know, this another story of course, to Bengal and other parts of the eastern part of India with the copies of the Goswami's literatures, bullock cart and many men with the bullock cart, dozens and so more. To go there, and of course at a particular place, King Bihar and Bir hijacked their endeavors. In the night, he did it incognito also through his various dacoits. They stole all this shastras. They thought it was a greatly valuable casket. They were told by astrologers it's worth more than anything you can imagine in this universe. It's the most valuable casket that exists. So the king was very excited. He expected the most rare diamonds and gems to be inside. And when he opened it, he was shocked out of his wits to see, you know, nothing but paper. Not even paper, just leaves, manuscript leaves, palm leaves or whatever they wrote it on. And of course that's another story. Srinivas stayed behind. Narottama and Shyamananda went on to Bengal. Empty-handed, you could say. Devastated and empty-handed. Later on, the scriptures were recovered, but that was some time later. So they went to Khetri, the home birthplace of Narottama. He hadn't been there for a long time, and his situation was there. I think at that point his parents had expired. I can't remember, but maybe they'd expired, whatever. But he stayed there, and he preached there. And many of the residents of Khetri took shelter of him, including one of his cousins, Santosh, who became the inheritor. Actually, Santosh had inherited the kingdom because Narottama had left home. He disappeared, so he had no other siblings. So the kingdom was given to his first cousin, Santosh. So he was now like the king, basically speaking. And he had, you know, influence over everyone. But many others also, even Brahmins. What is his name? Narayan? Ganga Narayan took. He was a Brahmin. He took shelter of Narottama, and others too took shelter of Narottama in Khetri and districts around. And many people were coming to take shelter of him. Shyamananda went off to Orissa, and in due course of time, he also journeyed. Narottama went also to Orissa and all over Bengal, visiting the various places of the holy places, the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, their place of, you know, service or birth like that. And then again, he settled down in Kaituri, preaching here, sending disciples here and there. We see in Eastern India that Tripura, for instance, the states of Manipur and Tripura, not so much Manipur now. Manipur, you've been there many times, haven't you? I only went the one time. But the state is changing a lot, isn't it? I mean, it's becoming quite, not at all what you hear. It was a Vaishnav state. The king of Manipur, if you didn't chant your japa, you were in trouble in that kingdom of Manipur at one point of time. It was a law. You had to chant japa, you had to chant. The king was really strict on it, much stricter than their temple presidents are in ISKCON, I can say that much. Well, to speak of the GBC, they didn't never even ask if you're chanting japa. You can live in a temple in ISKCON now and not chant a single round, and oftentimes nobody even notices, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen. No one ever questions or checks. Sometimes they do, of course, but not like a general principle. The whole country, just imagine in France, if you're the president of France made it a law that no one can stay in France unless they chant japa. Of course, the country will empty out pretty quick. We'll probably be the only ones left, if he survived. But, quite something. So anyway, and Tripura also. Tripura is probably more of a Vaishnav state than Manipur now, isn't it? I've never been there. You've been to Tripura? I heard it's pretty Vaishnav still. Well, I've never been. But Manipur, there's so many atheism and communism and Christianity and, I don't know, all kinds of things there now, isn't it? Different types of, protests, whatever. So, it's Kali Yuga. But then it was a Vaishnava. He said they converted whole countries, whole kingdoms into Vaishnavism. Powerful preachers. Powerful. Anyway, one time, they're in... one thing that was happening when Janava, of course, others were noticing, and he was also noticing, there were so many devious, just like after Prabhupada leaves. You can see it was there even during his presence, but Prabhupada was always there to make sure, this is the right way. You can do what you damn well like, but this is the right way. But after Prabhupada's departure, so to speak, then, many different sub-branches, call it what you will, devotees went here, there, and everywhere. And oftentimes came up with a kind of a, what do you want to call it? I call it apasampradaya, but some kind of new version of, the system of sampradaya, and so on and so forth, We don't give names to these things, but you know what I mean. And others went to other branches, thinking this branch is rotten or whatever it may be. All kinds of, within the family there's all kinds of different, this and that. It wasn't so clear. Things became a little hazy, so. What to say, we have no comparative thing to what happened in Kaituri. But Narottama Das, together with others like Shyamananda and many other devotees there, of course the ones he'd initiated, Ganga Narayan and Ramchandra Kaviraj and so many others, Santosh and others, they decided because to them there was no recognition of Gaur Purnima, Lord Chaitanya's appearance. So they decided that they would to organize a great festival to bring all the Vaishnavas together, from all over, wherever they're from, wherever they could come. So they advertised it, and they started making arrangements, and they requested Janava Ma, who was still present then, the consort of Nityananda, if she could be like the VIP, the overseer, the whatever, the Mahant, whatever you call it, of the festival. So they started arranging this as a big thing. We had no airplanes in those days, no even trains, no buses, no cars, no bicycles, only walking and bullock carts and horses, but generally Vaishnavas didn't ride horses unless they were kings. So it's mostly walking and sometimes by bullock cart, but mostly slow transport systems were there. If you had to go on Sankirtan or Harinam every day to Paris by walking, it would take you a good part of the day just to walk, right? You could do Harinam walking all the way there and all the way back. What is it, 20 kilometers? 15 to 20 kilometers. So that will take you a good 4 hours each way. And that's if you just walk normal pace, not if you go Harinam pace. It'll take you 8 hours. So 8 hours there and 8 hours back. That's the entire day on Harinam. Fantastic. Nothing else to do. But they would walk for months just to get to Kaituri, some of them. Or weeks and months, wherever they came from. All the devotees from Bengal were informed, the Arisan Bengal, wherever they are from, different parts of Eastern India. Devotees were heard about this great festival where Janavaman and many others, Raghunandana, and so all the different devotees were still present. Specifically, I can't remember all the names of those who were still present, but so many devotees came from all over. Bengal, Orissa, this, that, the other. Thousands and thousands of devotees came. Huge numbers. This is the first Gaur-Purnima festival. Particularly, it was declared that this is to bring unity amongst the Vaishnavas, because nowadays we have social media. They didn't have social media in those days like we have it, you know. Communication was basically some handwritten letter taken by somebody or another, you know, whatever means they could take it. There was no telephones, there were no internets, there were no social medias, there was no aeroplanes, and everything was slow like that, you know. So, you know, it's easy to get, you know, completely disconnected. Completely, isn't it? Imagine if you turn your internet off, you turn your WhatsApp, mobile, this thing, that thing off. What is it now, Twitter? It's not Twitter anymore, is it? What do they call it? Twitter. They got a new term. What's it?
It's still Twitter. The logo is changed.
Is
it's
it?
Still X.
X.
Yeah.
X. That's telling you, be careful, don't go there. X. No entry. They do that, don't they? Amazing. So, yeah, they didn't have all of that. So it's easy if we had none of that stuff. You see, when we were in the early days of ISKCON, we didn't know what was going on in Australia. We didn't know what was going on in America. Mm-hmm. Unless somebody wrote a handwritten letter or just came from there, you had no idea what was going on. You just assume that they're going on Harinam every day and worshipping the deities. That's it, finished. And everyone's chanting Hare Krishna and everyone's doing what Prabhupada wants. You just assume it. You have no idea. There's no news. There's no information, you know. It was connection through, as Prabhupada said, through the Sankirtan. We all felt connected. Even someone came from Australia without any warning. They'd arrive here today. We'd be in ecstasy. We'd be in ecstasy. Devotees come from Australia. Quick, hurry up. We'd be in ecstasy that they'd arrived. Wouldn't be phoning up the temple president in Australia. Who's this guy who's just arrived here? A Vaishnav come. How fortunate we are. You may find out after a while he's a bit of a bozo, but you know, initially you're in ecstasy. You know, and immediately prasadam. And there's only one thing to do. There's only one thing to do. Instead of sitting around and there's this guy, you know, on the social media all day long, sending out nasty messages to everyone and criticizing everything. There was only, if you didn't do the one thing, you couldn't stay, that's all. You had to go out on Harinam 8 to 10 hours every single day of the week. Simple pie. If you couldn't do that, you couldn't stay. It wasn't very difficult to analyze. Nowadays, nobody would stay if you asked them to do that. Yeah, right? Minimum 8 hours a day. Minimum. And full morning and full evening program. Not missing a minute. Can you imagine?
Classes.
Huh?
Classes also. Classes also.
Classical?
Classes, I think, conference like Bhagavad Gita class and Bhagavatam class as well.
Yeah, well, it was all personal. Well, there was no online or anything. You had to be there. You never hear. There were no books. Nobody had their own books. Nobody had a single book. There was only one Bhagavatam in the temple, one nectar devotion, maybe a few Bhagavad Gitas, but there were none for sale when I joined. Basically, there was only one. And a few senior devotees may have had their own copies. If you didn't go to class, you didn't hear nothing. You had to sit there, and whatever you learned in class, that's what you learned. Every day, 5 classes a day, and 8 hours Harinam. Now you have to have Bhakti Shastri, Bhakta program, this thing, spending millions of dollars doing what was normally the temple's business. You didn't have to spend a penny. Isn't it? Nobody went to India, maybe once in 4 years. Didn't need to. A whole different world. Anyway, time and place, circumstance in a different situation. So, They wanted to bring all the devotees together for unification. That's the idea of the Mayapur festival. To bring everyone together. Prabhupada wanted that in a different age now. Bring everyone together to bring unity in diversity. Is that right?
Yes.
Or diversity or disunity in adversity. What is it? This is a good one for you. You can quote. I'm sure you've made a note of that one. On the internet straight away. No. So, I think we're learning slowly. But this unity, what is that unity factor? Let's look at the Keturi festival. What was the unifying factor? Narottama Das and his disciples, and those who were assisting. Okay, let's look at the first thing. They made all arrangements to help the devotees get there. Boats. So many hundreds of boats were brought to help the devotees across this great river, the Padma, if they came from that side. They built a whole city for the devotees to accommodate them. No charge. They built a whole city. They arranged the best prasadam and the best facilities for everyone. Narottama was personally receiving the guests. You know, I think one of the most wonderful moments of my life, trying to be a servant of the devotees, was in, what year were Panchatattva installed? Does anyone remember? In Mayapur? 2004. And I don't know exactly the details why, but I decided for some strange reason that I only saw the deities once. Can you believe it? During that installation. I only went in the temple, maybe twice, 2 or 3 times. I spent the whole time, morning to night, in the reception tent. Morning to night, throughout the whole week. In and out. And the details were many, but the just greeting all the devotees with garlands, sandalwood paste, water, giving them seats. It was one of the most ecstatic. I felt better. I mean, I felt like it was more than I could have imagined about being there. Panchatattva! You know, I felt like I was getting much more. I don't know, because I wasn't there to say, but it was like a different mood, different experience, but it was definitely a part of that whole spirit of Panchatattva coming. That mood of Narottama, receiving everyone. Santosh, Narottama, they're all receiving everyone so wonderfully. So wonderfully. Everyone and they carry their bags. We would carry the devotees' bags to their rooms. And it was like morning and night, it was amazing. You didn't feel tired. It was like very, very special experience. So Narottama was like that. Everybody was worshipable to him. They were treated like gods, no matter who they were. And then the great festival began. And who was the main cook? Janaba. Not every meal, but the main festival day. She was the main cook. And she also served. She installed. One of the things that Lord Chaitanya, Jiva Goswami had told Narottama, you have to install deities. So this is the great installation of the deities there in Keturi, Radha Krishna. Several sets were installed, and of mostly Radha Krishna, Gauni Tide. Several sets of deities were installed, and Janava oversaw all the installations. She was the presiding, charya at that festival, bringing unity. And what was the primary unity? That was part of it. That was a major part of it. This culture, a cultural bringing together. Prabhupada said this is a cultural revolution. This is a perfect example of this. And the essential feature, particularly in regards to Narottama Das's relationship with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was the kirtan. Now, it's probably a little different to our kirtan now. Even the songs they would sing. He had a particular style, what's it called, Padavali? I think it was Padavali, introduced by Narottama. Everything was it's not made up like we make things up, or we hear some rock music and we try to improvise it into Krishna consciousness. This was from the heart. This was a relationship with Narottama, a relationship with the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his associates. It was so pleasing that it said that Lord Chaitanya, the Panchatattva, appeared on the scene. They appeared on the scene. There and then, they were dancing in the kirtan. All the associates of Lord Chaitanya appeared for this festival. This is the pure kirtan of the holy name, which of course Narottama is an embodiment of that pure Krishna prem, kirtan prem, prema sankirtan, embodiment of it. Everyone was in ecstasy. The kirtan would go on and deeper, and everyone was just overwhelmed. And this brought the unity, complete unity amongst the devotees. And then Janava would speak on the pure teachings as passed from Lord Chaitanya to the Goswamis, etc. And this way the whole festival was a festival of spiritual unity, purification. It wasn't sitting down talking about the differences, but focusing on the real essential unity, the essence of Krishna consciousness, the chanting of the holy name, the worship of the devotees and the deities. Everything was focused like this. This event was then heralded, and it became an annual event, and that's the beginning of Gaur Purnima. And this is in one sense, the essence of our Gaur Purnima festival, to bring that unity. We're in a difficult situation in this world today, no doubt, and even in our own efforts to serve Prabhupada's mission, but that principle is still the same, as much as possible. That mood of service, that mood of doing what Gaur Purnima really means, what it really means. There are many similar examples in Krishna Leela and so on and so forth of this mood. The Rajasuya sacrifice, various events which take place where it is shown how to bring that unity in diversity. So Narottama was a personification of that. Many of the local Brahmins complained that what is going on here, this is a common, you can say, reoccurring situation. We see that oftentimes caste Brahmins, they don't like Gaudiya Vaishnavism because it tends to, let's say, diminish their control over the situation. So they complain, this low-class man, who does he think he is, initiating Brahmins? This is unheard of. This is really against our Hindu cult. This has to be stopped. Many complaints were there. Then they approached the local king, who happened to be in that area, Hindu king. They approached him, and the king was there. He became, okay, it sounds right. Maybe they presented arguments. He connected with Narottama. Narottama replied, and the king was quite satisfied with Narottama's answers, but still, the local pandits and Brahmins were very, very strong. Okay, well, if you're sure about this, let's go there and find out. So they all marched off to Keturi, a whole big team of them, with the king and all these Brahmins and other courtiers and so on. They went off to Keturi, and when they reached Keturi, on the border, they all stopped on the border of that district of Keturi. And, just take a little bit of refreshment. There were some stalls were there, selling various things like pan, if you know what pan is. Not bread. It is something you chew on. And pots, they all like to get their clay pots and things to put their things in it. So they stopped at these various stalls, and they were surprised. The storeholders were speaking in Sanskrit. What is this? Ordinary, you can go to any old stall in India, you know what it looks like. There's the guy behind there answering them in Sanskrit. They're not speaking Bengali or what, they're speaking Sanskrit. This is really strange. What's going on here? So they thought, these guys, let's ask them what they're doing here. So they started talking to them. They started talking not just in Sanskrit, they started talking philosophy, and then they started talking about, various subjects. They started to test them, and these storeholders were defeating these Brahmins. These Brahmins were humiliated by these two, seemed like Shudra storekeepers, not even storekeepers, they're just, table like this, they're just ordinary street guys. And they were defeated by them. And then they told the chief pandit, this is ridiculous. So then the chief pandit went there, And they defeated the chief pandit. The king was watching. What is this? Ridiculous. You're going here to defeat Narottama? And who are these people? And then they declared that we are lowly servants of Narottama. We are his lowly disciples. If you can't defeat the disciples of Narottama, how do you expect to defeat Narottama? And they all held their heads down in shame. And they all surrendered to Narottama. Became his followers. Just like when, in his final pastime, we'll just briefly mention his departure. There are various stories of his departure, but briefly speaking, his chief, when I say his chief, but the primary disciple there, Ganga Narayan, of course, he lived in a place called Murshidabad, which is in Bengal. And so Narottama was there, and there were lots of critics there in Murshidabad, or I think it was Murshidabad. And lots of critics, and they were criticizing him. So Narottama was behaving as if he was leaving the world, and they're all saying, oh, just see, low-class man leaving the world just like the low-class man appeared at the world. He's leaving as a low-class man. And so the disciples were all disturbed like anything. And they were praying, Narottama, please, please save us from this. Save these people from this great offense. Suddenly Narottama came out. He looked like he was dying. He was in deep samadhi, just like Haridas was in samadhi in the Navab's court. And then suddenly Narottama came back to form, back to the complete life again. His whole body became totally effulgent, and a golden Brahmin thread appeared on his chest. Whew. Everyone was shocked. Even his critics surrendered to him. That's one story. And he remained. Then he went back to Katuri, and time wasn't right, and then the time came for him to leave the world. After him, let's say, impregnating the world with Krishna praying through Sankirtan. And he told his disciples, I'm going down to the river Katuri now to take baths. I want you to all come with me. So they all went down to the Katuri, so they could feel something was happening here. And went down to the Padma. And they could feel something was happening. So he went into the river and he said, now I want all of you to take lotus and bathe me. The lotus. He sat in the river. And they were bathing him with their lotus. Lota means like a pot like this, with water, taking the Padma water and pouring on his head. And as they poured, they saw the water was transforming into milk and flowing into the river. And gradually his body was like melting. It was like transforming into milk and merging into the river Padma, like that. Ganga Narayan, they couldn't stop. They knew this is the will of the Lord. This had to happen. They continued the order of their guru. They continued to do that, and then Ganga Narayan collected one pot of this milk, because there's no body left. There's no physical body. It transformed into milk. He took that pot of milk back to his home place, I think Murshidabad, and he installed that there. And now you have a Dood Mandir. A Dood Mandir. It's probably the only one. We have Nam Samadhi and this Samadhi and that, but this was a Dood one. Dood Samadhi. That was Narottama. Haribol. Shri Narottama Das Thakura ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Haribol. So today, if we do go, I hope we can go. There's a bit of a gale force wind blowing during the day, probably up to about 90 kilometers an hour wind or something. Sometimes gusts. So there's a big storm hitting the UK right now, I believe. I think so. I don't know. I heard something. Saw some headline there. So it might be a bit windy, but hopefully that will purify our heart, take away all the dirty things from our heart. Maybe it's Narottama's the hurricane of Sankirtan. And this evening it's not supposed to be so windy, so hopefully this evening will. Thursday we go for Harinam, I guess, I don't know, maybe. And the wind of Sankirtan, we have to blow away all the dirt from our hearts and the hearts of others. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Narottama Das Thakura ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jai.